Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How's it going tonight?
Tonight is much better.
Tonight is much better. Because your microphone is working?
Yes, that part. The current culprit is, current culprit belief is Skype. An update to Skype broke it because it works on Zoom, and we're currently doing this over FaceTime. So
Yes.
or sharing our audio over FaceTime instead of what we normally do with Skype. So I'm going with it's a Skype issue.
Yep. Blame Canada. I mean Skype. It's good. That's good. All right. Well, at least it wasn't a hardware problem.
Yeah.
Which
that would have been worse.
It's never the hardware problem. It's always software.
Speaking of software.
Speaking of software. I
can
homework.
give you my homework, my update, right? My weekend was driving to Utah,
sitting in a car.
Sitting in a car. Yeah, my weekend was sitting in a car, packing up my daughter and moving her apartment and then coming home, all in 3 days. So 1,700 miles, 27 hours, and so my homework.
27 hours of driving?
Yes, 27 hours in the vehicle.
Oh.
My homework.
Yes, homework. Okay.
Had turned off my work phone.
Okay.
Out, in Boise. We got 10 miles across the border into Utah. I'm waiting for my text message. Mm-hmm. You know what we talked about there the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Utah is now going to send a text message if you cross the border and ask you to fill out a form. Just about for COVID tracking.
Yeah.
Right. So 10 miles across the border, I still don't have a text message. I'm like, well, okay. And my daughter, she had no text message on her phone either. And then now we're 40 miles in, and now we're getting into the middle of the state, right? We're moving toward, not the middle, but we're moving towards Salt Lake.
It's starting to get into civilization.
Yes. And I should have got a text message at some point.
Right.
Well, turns out after about 50 miles in, I asked my daughter, hey, just Google, Google the Utah text messages. First article is plans canceled because apparently some people who live near borders of Utah were getting bombarded with text messages, like 15, 20 text messages. So their bold plan had a software flaw.
So no concept of send it once and only once.
Right. So something along those lines. They didn't get that actually working. So I was ready. I had one phone off and one phone on. But when you did cross the border, there was a sign that said, please help us stay healthy. Go to this website, health.utah.gov. Go here. And then commercial vehicles excluded was the next sign. So I went to health.utah.gov and was unable to easily eyeball the form to fill out. So I never filled out any form.
Well, so homework failure, but not due to the student.
No, the teacher didn't bring the test.
That reminds me of a favorite software joke. I'm not sure I could do it justice without looking it up. So do I look it up or do I just say what I remember? But it's I'll just say it and I'll totally mess it up, but maybe I'll look up and put a link for the real thing in. It's something along the lines of there are only two hard problems in computer science. One, sending messages once and only once. 2 or 3 out of order messages, and 2 sending messages once and only once.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
I just Googled it really quick. There's a bunch of them. There are only 2 hard things in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things. And then there's a bunch of others. There are only 2 hard problems in distributed systems: 2 exactly once delivery, 1 guaranteed order of delivery, 2 exactly once delivery.
There you go. That's what I was. That's the one I was. That's the one I was trying to remember. Yeah. Exactly. Which is totally true. You can also go Google the Byzantine generals problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. But
so that was my weekend. I would be happy never to be inside a vehicle for another few weeks.
Stuck inside my house, stuck inside my truck, stuck inside my house.
Yeah.
I bet there are people that are probably like, no, that sounds pretty good, actually. Can I get out and at least do a big loop?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was nice. It was a nice change of scenery. I will give it that. And it went by pretty quick. Daughter number one and I listened to podcasts. She shared me some of her favorite podcasts we listened to. I shared some of my favorites. It was good time had by all. Nice father-daughter bonding.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, you probably can't have any podcasts left to listen to.
No, I'm kind of podcast out, but
the queue is drained.
Yeah.
All right.
What'd you do this weekend?
I was trying to remember, actually, because I feel like I put in like, I don't know, 14 or 16-hour days, but looking back on it, I don't quite remember what I did. Thankfully, I kind of keep a journal that I'm not too good about, but I had done one this weekend that reminded me. But I was out and about, just kind of puttering in the barn mostly on my tack room project when my wife came out and was like, actually, if you had asked, I had asked her, if there's something that you particularly want me to accomplish this weekend, and really I just needed to make progress on this other project. But she was like, you asked me, and I realized if you could fix that electric fence, because we have these goats that basically weren't honoring the electric fence in any way, shape, or form, and so we have trained them by the fact that it was shorting out somewhere, that who cares about the white wire? Either it doesn't hurt at all or it doesn't hurt very much. And so they weren't abiding by it. And so I must have spent at least 2 hours debugging this doggone fence. And I have the charger and I'm walking up and down trying to find shorts, and like I've got strength here but not over here, and But if that's what I mean, it literally was crazy and maddening. And eventually, my wife was like, we could probably have just replaced it in the time that you've spent trying to debug it. And at first I was like, no. I want to. I can figure this out. It's not that big a deal. And then anyway, it doesn't take me long. Occasionally it takes longer than it should, but when she says something very smart, for me to go, you are very smart. I should listen to you. And so we got my kids out to help, and yeah, I think it took us less than an hour to just replace the fence entirely, or just the hot wire part. And instead of replacing it, we have this tape, which, the tape is good because it's visible, but like algae and stuff, or not algae, lichen will grow on it. And it doesn't look that great after, we've had it up for 4 or 5 years at this point, I think. And which is why it was shorting out. And the wires in it is super duper thin, super thin. And so if they short at all, then they'll often just burn out. And anyway, so I put up an actual wire, like a hot wire, which should last many, many, many years. And having tested it accidentally, it is significantly stronger. It was like, my accidental was I found my last short by the fact that I was I went to open a gate and I grabbed the gate, and well, it turns out it was shorting to the gate. And I was like, and yeah. Well, and then the worst one was my wife was like, so, hey, can you fix that where it's touching there without turning it off? And I was like, well, I've got this insulated thing in my hand. No, the insulation was not strong enough. it was pretty bad. Anyway,
How do the goats feel about the fence?
they have been honoring it. So I'm pretty sure either they can tell, like do they just know when electricity's flowing through it somehow? Maybe they could hear it, maybe they can sense it, or they got zapped and I didn't see, and they're all smart enough to do that now. But they've been very good. So, because I don't know. I know goats are notorious for it. There's a reason they call them kids. I think they are the pestiest things. In fact, as I was trying to do the first repair part, one of the problems was I had this goat that literally was hopping the fence because it wasn't on to like be up near me. Hey, what you doing? What you doing? And just grabbing stuff out of my bucket and running off with it. And I literally was swearing at the goat so much. That's why my wife was like, it's a good thing your kids aren't out here. Anyway, it's okay. It was good. And then I made a lot of progress on Sunday on my not roof, ceiling project. So anyway, it's a good weekend was had. I spent a lot of time outside, which is what I need at this point in time.
Well, your little goat adventure reminded me. I threw a link really quick in the doc. Did you see the goat to meeting?
No.
You can invite a farm animal to your next video call.
What?
So it's a farmer. It was an NPR. This was actually one of the podcasts we listened to. You can call up or email and schedule that. They'll just have they'll put a video camera on a goat or a llama or a cow or others, and that will be one of the attendees at your meeting, whatever it is, just for giggles.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Anyways, so if you get bored,
goat to meeting.
You can probably make some money, a little side hustle there for you. Just filming goats and having them connected to meetings. I
do not think you could pay me enough. They are. The thing is they're smart. That's the problem with them. They're smart. They're curious. They're inquisitive. They're fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Goat to meeting.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. All right, man. How about some follow-up? I see you put a couple things in here.
Well, this I guess technically this isn't follow-up, but it was not really big enough for an article. But there was, and this happened to me about a week ago. I was just flipping through Twitter, as one does, and it crashed. I'm like, so I load Twitter up again, and it crashes immediately. It kept crashing immediately when I would load it, and I could not figure out what was going on. And then the next morning, I stumbled across this article from Vice about a bug in Twitter, the Twitter client with a specific tweet, the text of a specific tweet. And it's
like a rendering bug.
It's some non-Latin characters and a pizza slice emoji put together in a specific way. And I don't know if it's a rendering bug or a font bug, whatever. If you're an iPhone user and you stumble across this tweet that someone has you can tweet it. It only crashes if you have the retweet in your feed.
Really?
And it only crashes when you scroll close enough to it that it'll trash your Twitter app. So
I have to render it.
Anyways,
did it only crash in the Twitter app itself, or did it also crash in like Tweetbot or Twitterific? Did you try?
I didn't try because whatever, after, the next, I think it was in the evening and I just said, I should probably go to bed anyways. The next day when I went and started scrolling, I didn't see it, but then I stumbled across this article. So I didn't try it in any other.
No, it didn't hit me. I haven't been Twittering that much the last couple of weeks, I guess. I've got one I gotta actually on cue. I should throw it out because I took some snapshots of what I went to print on the 3D printer last night, which I was super excited about printing. And actually, my younger son and I set it up, set the plate up last night, and then I ran out of resin overnight, but it ran out by more than double. Like when I came out, the amount that it had actually printed was less than half of the distance between, the plate, and it was a long print. So basically it was a big ogre and a big kind of shrine. And they must have just taken a ton of resin, which is fine. I mean, I didn't mind, other than the fact that I clearly didn't pour enough in. But in retrospect, I don't think I can print both of those big things on the plate at the same time, just because I'm not sure the vat will hold enough resin to do them both.
Right.
So I at least with the 3D printer I have, you kind of want to have things that are of the same height, because how much time it takes to print is based on the height of something, not based on the volume. And so I was like, oh, well, cool. Here's these two things. They'll both fit on the plate, barely. But I learned another lesson. Anyway, sorry. Just speaking of the Twitters, I'll throw that out.
Sidetrack.
Yeah, I'm easily sidetracked.
All right. And then next follow-up is Apple and Google. We had talked about their contact tracing API that they were going to do.
Uh-huh.
They have published the first seeds, I guess, to beta to developers, and they changed the name to exposure notification instead of contact tracing. So
we're not tracing you. We're not being creepy. We're being helpful.
That's right. I'm sure there was a marketing guy that came in and said, guys.
That's true. It's totally true. I'm the type of person that would have called it contact tracing, and you need somebody else to come through and say, John, that's not how you name things. You gotta call it something else. This is yeah.
Well, and to be fair, exposure notification is probably a little bit more accurate than contact tracing.
It is.
Because you're not really tracing people. You're tracing the contact.
Yeah. And they did an extension to the the first time we talked about it was the first draft, I think, of that standard. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a super clever use of these pocket supercomputers we all carry with us.
Yep. We'll see how it pans out. And then we can move on to the breach of the week. Did you see this one?
I have not. I mean, I saw the link that you put in here, but I hadn't read it.
Yeah. So in the UK, which has always, I shouldn't say always, the UK seems to be known for video surveillance.
They do a lot of CCTV.
Well, apparently I don't know, I didn't read close enough, and now I'm going to sound dumb. I don't know if Sheffield is a town or a county or both.
Okay.
But
I don't know.
The locale of Sheffield, somewhere in England, I should probably have read to find out exactly where that is, has an automatic number plate recognition camera system. And apparently the internal management dashboard, so the thing that shows you everywhere people go that's picked up by their thing, was accessible just by entering an IP address into a web browser. No login, no authentication. You could view and search the whole system, see where cars had gone, if you know the license plate, everywhere it's been throughout Sheffield's road networks.
Uh-huh.
And the comment I really liked from one of the security researchers that found it, she said, was the public ever told the system would be in place and that the risks were reasonable? Was there an opportunity for public discourse? Or like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, were the plans in a planning office at an impossible or undisclosed location?
I love the Hitchhiker's Guide reference.
Exactly. Points for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference there.
Yeah.
So there's
that's a unique one though. It's not a exposed S3 bucket, Mongo or Elastic.
No.
Very, very nice.
But it's, hey, where did Eric go this week? Oh,
and I see in the article it says Sheffield City Council. So
okay,
I'll go with city.
I probably mussed that up too much to be able to cut out my ignorance earlier on, but
that's okay. Embrace your ignorance.
That's right.
It's cool.
I'm cool.
I do it all the time. I do it all the time. I don't know.
All right.
All right. Well, what do you got for a topic for me this week?
So this week I grabbed did you see the 0 clicks, the 0-day potential, I should say, 0-day bugs affecting Apple, iOS, and Mac, various
I
APIs.
saw the link, but again, I actually didn't read this one.
Yeah, so Project Zero, Apple does really good at image rendering. You know, they do very well at video picture rendering. And they have an API called Image.io. And Project Zero went and used a technique called fuzzing. So they sent bogus data at the API to see how it handled image files that were malformed, incorrectly formed, and went and looked for abnormalities come out. And they found a number of vulnerabilities and reported those to Apple. And they didn't actually take the vulnerabilities far enough beyond the proof of concept to see if you could use it as an actual 0-day or remote code execution. But, given that you could exploit and insert code somewhere, one of the researchers with Project Zero said, it is likely that given enough effort and the exploit attempts granted due to automatically restarting services, some of the found vulnerabilities can be exploited for a remote code execution in a 0-click attack scenario. So while they didn't actually build the proof of concept to prove that the 0-day would work, they seem pretty confident that given the type of vulnerabilities these were, that they potentially someone could develop one. And this is bad from just from a user perspective, because what this means is all you have to do is download a picture, just load a video or load a picture somehow on your phone. You don't have to click, you don't have to do anything. You just have to have that video being processed by this API, the Image.io API, and that could potentially inject a malicious payload and do something obnoxious with your Apple device.
Yeah.
So one note, I guess really quick, one note was all these bugs have been fixed. So they submitted all these to Apple. Apple has since fixed them. So if you keep your device up to date, you're good.
So you didn't mention these were found with fuzzing.
I thought that's what I said at the very beginning.
Did you say fuzzing? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Because I think it was we talked about it. I just looked it up in episode 100. I don't remember if this was something fun or what, but it was a reference to OSS Fuzz, which is Google's open source fuzzing project that allows any open source project to very easily provide a container that has a build of them and how to call it, and then they will do evil things to you to try to break you, which is fantastic. Nice. And then so they obviously fuzzing is I doubt they would be able to do it easily on iOS with something like OSS Fuzz, but if they've got a jailbroken phone, they should be able to get in and do it.
Right.
Or it could be that the same libraries used on macOS as well, and they did the fuzzing actually on macOS. That's cool.
Yeah. So that was the thing that caught my eye this week.
Nice. Yeah. And I think that what Project Zero did in terms of, here's what we found. It can take a long time to take a crash that you find due to fuzzing or some other reason, and figure out how to sort of weaponize it. It's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work, but in this case, what they're after is just getting it fixed. So getting it disclosed to the vendor, like Apple in this case, and then having it fixed quickly is good for us all. Thank you.
Yep.
So I had two things for this week. The first one, wasn't a ton of information in here, but it's been a while since we talked about any industrial control systems being targeted. And this is an article on ZDNet about Israel, the Israeli National Cyber Directorate, INCD. They issued an alert last week for wastewater treatment plants, water pumping stations, and sewers. So the fact that they says that the agency received reports of intrusion attempts. So there was, like I said, there wasn't a ton of information. I think the fact that they put out anything at all is probably news in and of itself. But the main thing, things that you can pull away from here as well, other than the fact that we have so much vulnerable infrastructure, it is. You might not be able to sleep at night if you really give that a lot of thought. Yeah. But the main things here are their 2 pieces of advice, 3, I guess, kind of. The first was change passwords, which they actually say in here if passwords are able to be changed. So the flip side of that means there are places where there are passwords that are, well, either don't have a password or are not able to be changed, which is frightening, perhaps. And then the second thing is, if you can't change the password, disconnect them from, networks. And then the third thing was to update equipment firmware, which always good practice. I mean, the thing is so many things that we see in the world over and over again. It's the basics. Have strong passwords, have 2-factor authentication if you can, and keep things up to date. So it did say at the time of this writing, there have been no reports of a confirmed intrusion at any Israeli water treatment and supply company. But even if there was, I'm not sure that we would hear about it. But then the main article, my second article, and the bigger one was an article on Krebs about another phone banking scam. And I saw that you had actually posted this same article in Slack as well. So I sniped it. But
yeah, I read this one and thought that I would have fallen for the scam. The way they did this one.
There's a chance I would have as well. I gotta admit that. I would like to think that I wouldn't have, but I might have as well. So the TLDR on this is do not ever trust that you're actually talking to your bank if you did not initiate the phone call to your bank. If your bank, if quote unquote, let me use air quotes, if your bank is calling you, do not give any information. You cannot give any information over the phone. So that's kind of like the final takeaway from this regardless. But what this is I know that we've talked about phone spoofing over time, but it is frustrating when you're getting a robocall and they're spoofing the number and it comes from, a number near you, right? Or even I've seen this a number of times. Your own number, right?
Yeah. I'm calling myself.
Yeah, it's coming from inside the phone. So, but what I hadn't thought about before I read this article either is that the fraudsters can use that caller ID spoofing to call your bank. And oftentimes your bank, given your credit card number, will recognize the phone number that you're calling from and basically divulge information, right? It's kind of a side channel attack, maybe.
Yeah.
You would consider that. And then what this scam is that the scammers used the data they were able to get for quote unquote free off of the bank's automated system to be able to phone the person and then claim to them that there's been some potential fraud on their account. I'd like to read you some of your last few transactions. Will you tell me whether or not they're real? And so this person is on the phone with turns out the fraudster, but they're like, they know who their bank is. They know what type of card they have. They know the recent transactions. And so they say, can you please confirm, have you bought this from the shoe store, or have you bought this from Target, or whatever the places are? And this person goes and logs onto their banking online system and verifies the last few transactions. And then since the person on the phone clearly had those transactions, they then proceed to say, well, do they see any suspicious activity on the account? Anything that you don't recognize? No, they didn't see that. But then they said, okay, well, what we need to do is we need to reset your account or reset your password or something along those lines. Can you give us your code word, whatever the code word is? And I don't know what they clearly didn't say password in this article, which is a little weird to me, but they said security word. But so let's see. The actual quote is, after verifying the recent legitimate transactions with the caller, the person on the phone asked for her security word. And when she provided it, there was a long hold before the caller came back and said she'd provided the wrong answer. When she corrected herself and provided a different security word, there was another long pause before the caller said the second answer was correct. And at that point, they said the bank would be sending them a new card and that they had prevented several phony charges. Okay, fine. So the person thinks that they're fine and they walk away and like, whew, what happened? But then they get spammed with inbox mail, which is basically like an email bomb to try and bury any fraud notifications from the bank in a sort of avalanche of, other emails. But the other tricky thing is what the fraudsters asked for was what they call it? They called it overpayment reimbursement. So basically, if you pay your credit card off every month, if you use your credit cards and then you pay them off every month, you're paying it significantly more than the quote minimum payment. And so you can ask for a reimbursement of everything higher than the minimum payment. And so anyway, so that's what they were trying to basically get back. And then so that is very tricky fraud, very tricky. Social engineering, I guess I should say.
Yeah, this whole scenario, I was thinking about this. Yeah, if someone called me that said they were from the bank, because I did have my credit card stolen twice. I mean, we've talked about it on the show twice in the last couple of years, and typically there was a call from the bank that said, "Hey, your credit card. Have you made these purchases on your credit card?" And they listed off a couple purchases that I know I didn't do. And then they would tell me, all right, we put a hold on your account. We think these are fraudulent. Can you please, call us back or send an email or verify these other things? So I totally would have fallen for this because I've had this happen to me where the bank has called me.
Right.
And said, here's some charges on your account. These are not correct. Now, they never asked me to give them a password.
They should never ask for your password or anything along those lines.
I hope that I would have gotten suspicious at some point, but
yeah,
this is a new twist that I hadn't seen before.
Well, and they did say in here that one of the other things they did was they spoke to somebody at the bank's fraud department who said, but no, it was that person because we checked it came from the mobile number. So the bank, or at least the person they were talking to, wasn't aware of the caller ID spoofing at all. And and I think about that myself because I have clearly had situations where I'm calling. What did I have to call? It seems like I had to call somebody recently that was I don't know, one of my credit card companies or something like that. And I totally got we see the number you're calling from is my cell number. Is this correct? Yes. We located your account. Like I don't even think I had to put in maybe I had to put in my credit card number or something like that, but it was, they definitely were divulging information.
Yeah. I actually just had to cancel an finally cancel an airfare ticket. And I called from my cell phone, and the automated system just said, "Oh, you are, is this you?" Yes. Moving on. We see, they use the phone number you call with as
if it was
authentication factor.
Yeah.
That's why you need multiple.
It's bad. It's bad.
Anyways.
So well, let me just reiterate the thing to do for you, for me, for anybody listening, for anybody in your families that you should warn about this kind of stuff. If the bank ever hypothetically calls you, feel free to get the person's name, and don't take the number that they give you on the phone if they give you a number, but call the bank's number. I almost said from the phone book. Call the bank's phone number from the back of your card or from not Gmail, Google
the
Maps,
website that you actually go to,
or the website of the bank, and the contact page. And, that's the only way you can really be sure you're talking to your bank.
Yep.
So anyway, that was the bigger article. And, that's some good social engineering. All right. How about we talk about something fun?
All right. My something fun this week is a DIY project, and it's related to being stuck at home all the time. Although technically, I suppose I could take this somewhere else, take this into the office. But it is building a busy light to show off your Microsoft Teams presence. So if you are in a meeting, there'll be a light that will show red, and if you're not in a meeting, it'll show green. And the guy who built this did it because he's, I'm at home, my children are at home, and they know, they just walk, kids are kids. They'll come running in the office.
Yeah.
And so he has now said, all right, I have a light. If the light is red, that means Dad's busy. You can't come in. If the light is green, then sure, come in and we can chat. So just trying to add
That's
that.
Funny.
Anyways, it goes into full detail. It's tied in with your Microsoft Teams and Homebridge, and it goes through the how to build it using the Wi-Fi chip. It's a little Pi Zero that's used, so it's very well documented. He's got software. The downside, it's written in Node, but
JavaScript. But the thing that this reminds me of, remember Josh did this more than 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
At the office, I do remember that. He had built something like this.
He had built this, this exact thing with the little red, yellow, green up on his cube wall.
Yeah.
Could have been famous. Could have been famous, Josh. We'd have to send him this link.
Yeah.
He'll be like, oh. Anyway, that's cool though.
So anyways, that was my something fun. I have all these little pies laying around. I think I have almost all of the equipment that he talks about here, or something similar enough that I could use it. And I have not built it yet, but I thought, maybe if I get some free time, I might build this.
It'd be cool. I mean, I'm not sure it would do any good for me. It would just I could just have a little red LED that I put right there.
That would solve your problem. Just put in a red LED, just turns on at 6 a.m. and turns off at 6 p.m.
Yeah. Homie don't need 3 states. Sorry. It's tragic because it's true. No, it's good.
Anyways, that's my something fun.
All right. Well, that is fun.
I know you had told me earlier that you're very excited about your something fun. So let's hear it.
I'm perhaps a little bit unreasonably excited, but I have restrained from buying it. So, did you click the link?
I did. Well, I assume we're talking the Amazon link.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yes. So what this is, and the thing is that YouTube gets me. That's really what it comes down to. Because it might have been yesterday, maybe it was the day, I don't know. One of the last couple days, I've been waking up early because I've been waking up really early, and I actually had a half an hour from 6 to 6:30. it was my first meeting didn't start till 6:30, and I had like half an hour, and I was awake. I was like, oh well. I took my shake downstairs, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna just plug in and start doing my email right away. I'm gonna take a few minutes. And I sit down, and one of the first like recommended videos is this $200 mini CNC machine or wood router on a YouTube video. And I'll have to dig up the link. So we put the YouTube link in here instead of the Amazon link. But I was like, $200? What? Do tell. So click. So I watched the video. It was a pretty good video. He did a good job. I mean, it seems like it's pretty doggone good results for $200. That seems pretty. Anyway, like I said, I've avoided buying it so far, but I'm not sure I'm going to continue to avoid it because I think this would be a fun thing to play with, and I think I would get $200 worth of joy out of it.
You wouldn't go for the extra and add the laser?
What do you mean? Wait, I didn't look at the laser. What?
So instead of having a routing bit, you can swap out for a laser and do laser engraving for $289.
Can I have both?
Yes, it'll do both.
Wait, what do you mean?
So click on the Amazon link. Click on the one that's for $289.
Okay, I'm looking. So does that have the regular, or is that? See, now I'm totally confused. Is the $219 for the bit, $289 for the laser, and $306 is for both?
No. So $219 is for the bit and all the hardware. $289 is for the bit, all the hardware, and a laser, 2-in-1. And $306 is if you want it's a more powerful laser. A 3,000 milliwatt laser instead of a 2,500 milliwatt laser.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, now that got even more intriguing.
Yeah, well,
I notice it's not in any kind of enclosure that would like save your eyes.
No. But I went straight for the laser.
I'm looking laser. Okay, so 306. So there's this cool thing that will do 2-in-1 for $306. Sorry.
Yes.
Anyway, I just thought, this totally looked like something that would be totally fun and totally cool, and I might have to do this. Although I must say, one of the things off of the video is this seemed really loud, like really loud.
Right.
So,
well,
fine. I could put it outside in the shop.
I'll give you another downer. On it. The software that you use to do the laser engraving is only supported by Windows. So unless you would have to research and find out if there's an alternative to the software used to run the laser for a different OS. But I would assume it's just G-code. But I don't know.
I was going to say, at least on the video, the guy talked about using a couple of different programs to emit the G-code for the
router,
the router part. Anyway, this was my something fun for this week. We don't have to analyze it that much. I waited forever before buying a 3D printer until I saw one that I was like, wow, they're finally getting good enough that I'm willing to kind of spring for it. And it was totally the resolution that did it. And in the same way, like CNC machines and laser cutters. So, the Glowforge is amazing looking.
Right.
And, we've got a couple of friends that have them, which are very cool, but that's like what, $5,000? I'm out. Sorry, I'm really a cheapskate. Sorry. but $300, well, does it do 1/15 the amount of stuff? Anyway.
Right.
So this is
cool.
my something fun. This is cool. Talk to me at some point in time in the future, and maybe I'll pull the trigger. We'll see. Laser for $300. That could be really cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, we should close the show down, and then I will do some more analysis here and decide if I should spend $300 more on another thing that I don't really need.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, John.
All right. Talk to you later, Eric.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.